Welcome to the Gents Weekly podcast, where we have conversations and share ideas to help the modern man make every second matter. My name is Dean Bakari.
And I'm Steven Seidel.
And I'm Matt McManus.
Hey guys, Dean Bakari here, co-founder of GentsJourney.co, and I want to welcome you to our first episode of the Gents Weekly podcast. Now, for this first episode, we are interviewing an entrepreneurial business podcasting legend named John Lee Dumas. He's the host of Entrepreneurs on Fire. Podcast has been around for over 13 years now. He's got over 4,000 episodes under his belt. And in this first episode, we're talking to him about what it means to be a man who's doing meaningful work in this day and age. So we're excited for you to tune in. We hope you enjoy it. And without further ado, let's just dive right in, baby. Welcome, John Lee Dumas, to the Gents Weekly podcast.
What makes your life meaningful as a man? Like from the perspective of a man, you know, because we're serving men with this content. And so what insights would you have for a man who wants to do something similar to what you're doing?
So for me, and it's kind of interesting you're talking about this kind of from a men's perspective, because, you know, for 13 years, my show has always kind of been focused on, you know, both genders, and I bring on a lot of female founders, and I love doing that. But obviously, like, I only have the perspective from a man of what it means to run a business, because that's what I am. And like, whenever I want to kind of get some more of the insight of the female gender, I've got to chat with my wife, Kate, and kind of get some updates, you know, from her perspective to kind of see behind the curtains there, because, you know, that is the unique aspect of what we do when we are men, is that, you know, we have this kind of one-sided perspective of what we're doing in business, and also in relationships, and also in family, because, you know, I just had a child. I say just, but we just celebrated his 2-year birthday.
Congrats.
And thank you.
Yeah.
Bo Arthur Dumas, his initials stand for bad. He was a pumpkin for Halloween right there.
Oh my God.
Just happens to
Love
be
that.
fun.
Congrats.
But our, you know, our dynamic is very unique when it comes to raising our child. You know, Kate is the full-time mother, and I'm, you know, a full-time dad, but I'm a full-time provider. So, you know, I'm not able to be like a full-time dad, like she is a full-time mom, like 12 to 15 hours a day, where she's there with Bo. But, you know, I definitely am able to break up my time with him in the morning, and then in the evenings when, you know, I'm able to work it into my schedule while still running the ship, while still running the show here. So, you know, for me, when it comes to like kind of perspective, if you look at, you know, more of the like traditional way of how families are kind of raised, and that's actually kind of interesting, is where I live in Palmas Del Mar. Almost every single family dynamic is the husband works, the wife is a stay-at-home mother, and at most maybe a part-time helper in the business, because everybody that's moved down here to Puerto Rico are like entrepreneurs running their own business. And that dynamic is just there across the board. But then I go back to Maine, where my sister is, and she's actually a stay-at-home mom. But I asked her, she has 2 children, and of her 2 children, both of her kids have like 20 friends each. None of her friends' mothers are stay-at-home. 100% of them work. She's the only stay-at-home mom in that dynamic. And then I go out to San Diego to visit Kate's family. It's the exact same thing. 0 of Kate's sister, who has a son and a daughter as well out there, 0% of the mothers are full-time moms. 100% of them are working full-time. So there's like a different dynamic there. So it's really interesting that the world that we've created in most cities, like you said, you used to live in Los Angeles, and now you live in, you know, Lexington, Kentucky, and like different parts of the world. It's almost like you have to have 2 full-time workers, incomes, just to make it. And it's crazy. But down here in Palmas Del Mar, it's not the case. So it's just a really strange and different dynamic. So, you know, to me, like, I feel like I'm living much more of that, you know, Wonder Years kind of more traditional role that, kind of makes me kind of feel like I'm the man, I'm the provider, where Kate is the full-time mom, she's the caregiver. And
Yeah.
that's just the reality of our life.
Man, I wasn't anticipating the conversation would take this turn, but it's so interesting because, we did a similar thing. So I used to live in Irvine, California, which is in Orange County. Same situation, dude. Every household has, a working dad, working mom, and they have to in order to be able to afford to live in a
Right.
place like that, right?
Yeah.
So a couple of years ago, we made just a big decision to move out of the city, get out of Orange County, and now we're on a 5-acre ranch, just an hour and a half away, and it's the same thing that you just mentioned, John, where almost every family I've met here in this neighborhood, they're all stay-at-home mom,
Wow. Interesting.
and dad, the husband, works.
And that's where
He's the main provider.
we relocated to California. My wife doesn't work, so she's not working, and I'm able to provide. But with that comes, increased responsibilities, and that's where this whole men's group comes in, where I get to talk to Dean about all the stuff going on and ways that we can work through that. And it's been so amazing to have such a strong support system. And we didn't find one initially. For you and what fellow entrepreneurs out there, that support system is so crucial. Obviously, you have your own communities. What kind of advice do you give to these businessmen or other entrepreneurs to make sure that they have a group around them to support them in the trials and tribulations that come forth?
Well, there is one quote I use at the end of every single one of my episodes. 100% of my shows, I end with the quote, "You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with."
Yeah.
It's a Jim Rohn quote. It is so true. And that's why it's also chapter 5 in my book, The Common Path to Uncommon Success. It's all about masterminds. Because if you don't have 3, 4 people that you're meeting with on a regular basis, that that you like, that you trust, that you respect, that you care about, that are going to hold you accountable for becoming a better man, for becoming a better entrepreneur, for becoming a better person, for becoming a healthier person, you're not going to, because, we can only hold ourselves accountable so much before, that breaks down. Like, we need other people in our life. It's that sense of community. It's that sense of camaraderie. And, that's one thing I struggled with when I got out of the military. I was an Army officer for 8 years, spent 13 months in Iraq. And when I left the Army, like, I felt this void that I didn't know I was going to feel, of the fact that there was no longer like any strong male friendships in my life. I was able to go back to my friends from college and rekindle some of those. But, just like being in the Army, it was different. You're with them every day. We went to war together. We came back. I could trust them. I could confide in them, and I respected them and they respected me. And like, you need that in your life. So you have to find that. And, whether somebody lives in Los Angeles and somebody lives in Lexington, Kentucky, that's the beautiful thing about the world we live in. It doesn't have to be in your town. It just has to be on that level where you guys share, that mutual know, like, trust, and respect. And so the fact that you two have found that with each other, and then have, been able to foster that with the men's group, it's unbelievably important. I mean, it's what keeps us progressing forward in the right directions, because you have that support group for when you get down, because we always get down as entrepreneurs. There's the ups and the downs. So, you're supporting each other when the other individual is struggling, but then also you're hopefully keeping them in check, when things are going amazing well, because there's a phrase that I use, which is, "This too shall pass." Because, for better or for worse, this too shall pass. And when it's worse, you take a lot of comfort in the fact that this too shall pass. And when it's fantastic, you have to remind yourself and be reminded that this too shall pass, because it will. It's not going to be amazing forever. Markets will crash. Something will happen in your business. AI will do this, quantum computing will do that. Like, you have to know that something is coming that's going to take you from a 10 out of 10 to maybe an 8 out of 10, or maybe a 2 out of 10. Who knows? But you have to, make sure that you're making hay while the sun is shining. So make sure you keep grinding and crushing it while the sun is shining. But, realizing that, hey, I know this is not going to last forever. And that mastermind I'm talking about, that support group I'm talking about, that can keep you level-headed in both of those swings.
That's awesome. One of the things we also developed, we found the journey deck that we created. Dean, maybe
Oh,
we could
cool.
ask him a question from our card deck. Would you be open to
Pull
answering
it out.
questions?
Yeah, let's
Totally.
do it.
So we created this card deck obviously to help with connection, like Tony Robbins and others. It's about asking the right questions. It's like a magic trick. Tell me when to stop, and then you'll answer that question.
Stop.
Oh, I mean, this is easy for you, bro. We might have to do a different one. How do you live out your purpose every day? If you want to do another one, we can.
Yeah, I feel like
it's
you kind of answered that already.
Yeah.
there.
Let's do another one. That is a good
So
point.
tell me when to stop.
Stop.
Okay. If your life was a movie, what part of the story would you currently be in?
Oh,
Wow.
God.
Yeah. Well, I'll answer that even a little more in depth. My life would be Legends of the Fall. Like I love that movie. To me, it has the hero's journey, the hero's arc in such an amazing way, where the kids are growing up and they're learning about life from their great knowledgeable father, and then they go off to war and like things are hectic, and all these things, and then they come back and they kind of settle into their groove and they make a bunch of mistakes, at that point in their life, but then they start to find their grooves. Each one kind of starts to find their groove. This one's, the traveler. This one's the lawyer. This one's the fisherman, whatever that might be. And like, that's the stage where I'm at right now in that movie of Legends of the Fall. Like, I'm in the stage where I'm in my groove. Like, that's why people are like, you've been doing daily interviews of entrepreneurs for 13 years. Like, when are you going to stop? And I'm like, what am I going to stop talking to cool, inspiring human beings? Like,
Right.
never. Like, why would I want to stop doing that? It's like, I love doing that. And I get that not everybody would want to do that, because sometimes people are introverts and they actually get drained by communicating with people and having conversations. And that's totally fine. They can excel in other ways. Like, I'm an extrovert. Like, I love communicating. I love having conversations. I love getting on the microphone and just chatting away about what inspires me, which is business, which is entrepreneurship, which is finance, things along those lines. And so I never get tired about that. So like, I'm at that part in the movie where I found my groove, and then now I'm just in like pure execution mode. Like, let's go. Like, my dad's 74 years old. He's a lawyer. He's been running his own practice for like 37 years now. And people always ask him, they're like, you're 74 years old. You've been running your business for 37 years. Like, when are you going to stop? And he's like, why would I stop? He's like, I have nothing else. I don't want to go play golf. I don't want to, he's like, I want to keep working because I'm relevant. I can do pro bono work. I can help people. I can do X, Y, and Z. And he does all those things. He still finds like a lot of happiness and joy with what he does. And like, if you look at, and you study like the blue zones and like the people that live the longest in this world that are 100, 110, 115 years old, like, they're still relevant in this world. They still have a purpose and a meaning to get up every morning, and they're doing something of value. And I love the fact that I found that for me. And I mean, could that adjust and change in the next 5 to 10 years? Of course. Like, I always could change. And I'm excited to see what that change could look like, because that could be fun too. But for now, it's just like I wake up every morning looking forward to executing on my vision and my purpose for the day, which was the first question, which is inspiring humans around the world to, find their joy, to find their passion, to find their purpose. And I don't want to stop.
Beautiful, man.
Wow.
Beautiful. I always tell people, like, to retire is to die.
That's the number one killer, is retiring. Like, it literally, like, people retire, and then like 2 or 3 years later, they're like, oh, that person passed away. It's like, really? He was like really healthy when he retired. Like, what happened? He lost his purpose, lost his relevancy, and faded away.
Along those lines, you mentioned some of the things that you'd love to do. So for we had something where to come from happiness instead of for happiness. Too often we're trying to find things outside of ourselves. For me, it was tennis when I moved here. I didn't have friends. For you, what is an area of exploration for you where if it's fun, it gets done, to explore that pillar?
Two things that I never skip is my 5:30 a.m. 3-mile walk with my dog. Every single morning, my alarm clock goes off at 5:30 a.m. And it'd be easy to hit the snooze alarm if I didn't say, you know what, my dog's 75 pounds, very energetic. He's a golden doodle. He needs a walk. So I take him for a 3-mile walk. First thing in the morning, I'm outside. It's Puerto Rico, so it's warm. The Caribbean breeze is hitting me in the face. I literally, on my second lap, I'm watching the sun rise out of the ocean of the Caribbean. Like, it's a beautiful start to the morning. And then I bookend my day with the exact same thing. 5 p.m., I'm back on the road, 3 miles with my dog. I'm listening to great podcasts and audiobooks. I'm actually listening to the book East of Eden right now by John Steinbeck, which I haven't listened to. or haven't read in probably 2 decades, but it's like such a great book, and I'm loving that. It takes place in California in the Salinas Valley, and listen to finance shows and news. I stay updated. Sports. I'm a huge college basketball fan, so I listen to all the sports podcasts about Providence College basketball, and I'm outside. I'm breathing the fresh air, the blue sky, the sun's hitting me, the vitamin D, and those are just two non-negotiables for me.
Well, thank you, John. Appreciate you, man. If people want to get in touch or find out more about you and your podcast, how can they do that?
eofire.com is the headquarters. Entrepreneurs on Fire is the podcast, and keep doing awesome things, guys. Looking forward to it.
Thank you for tuning in to the Gents Weekly podcast. Visit us at the Ultimate Learning Hub and Social Club for Men at gentsjourney.co.
Just show up.